Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey,
My name is Dan.
and today we are very, very excited to bring you our review discussion on Andor Season 2 episodes that's 10, 11, 12, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
10,
this is
11, 12.
the final arc, the I'll call it the Bridge to Rogue One arc. Um, we've been talking about this, we have a whole collection of episodes on our channel or podcast feed now, detailing thoughts on not Rogue One yet, but Andor season one, the first three arcs of Andor season two. We've both really enjoyed it. But Dan, what did you think of arc four of Andor season two? Just a quick introduction to the episodes.
Might be the best Disney Star Wars show that have come out.
Hmm. Hmm. Coming
Those
out the gate
three,
swinging. These three
those
episodes.
three episodes. Honestly, the past six episodes.
I liked I guess I can respond with my thoughts. I liked the last arc better. I thought this arc was very good, but I like the last arc better.
Gorman.
Not just the Mon Mothma Senate escape
Yeah, but
episode is
like
my
the
favorite.
Gorman.
The resolution of the Gorman massacre. Yes, I think that for
Yeah.
me was probably my favorite arc. But I understand this, and you're a big Rogue One fan, and this
hmm
is, I mean, putting all the little golf balls on their tees for Rogue One.
I mean, that was the title of the last episode.
It's true.
It was like what Jeddah, Urso, and Kyber.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, I loved the learning the more background on Luthen and Clea. The Clea episode, we'll talk about all this in detail. It was fantastic. And just I felt like there was so much that really this arc really tied together all the themes that we've been talking about the whole way through, the parallels between the Empire and the Rebellion, and how their individual thought processes lead to success or failure
hmm
is just so strong. Um,
Yeah.
so we both generally really liked it. Dan liked it a lot. Um, in this episode, I do want to say we're just going to talk about the fourth arc of season two. We're going to do a whole season and then potentially touching into the series review in a separate episode. So stay tuned for that. But moving forward, Dan, I want to kind of just start by talking about some of the. We're not going to do play by play. We're just going to talk about some of our favorite moments. We can start with that first episode where we lose Luthen.
Wow. Not even lose Luthen. The first episode we got probably the biggest oh my gosh cameo we've seen, and it wasn't a cameo of a person, but with Lonnie finally spilling
Yeah,
what he learned, dropping the names.
it was a big deal.
Very, very big deal. What did you think of that? What did you think of how Lonnie finally won it out?
I think this was, if there was a time for him to ask to be out, I think this was it. I love that it tied together everything with him being Luthen's mole and Luthen essentially being directly contributing to the discovery of the Death Star for the rebels. To on the other side of the coin, Dedra's logins and credentials and her having all this stuff she wasn't supposed to is the reason that Lonnie was able to find out. Lonnie is a lost hero of
Oh
the
my gosh,
rebellion.
yeah. The stuff that Lonnie did on his own
Completely isolated.
just came back to Luthen being like, oh, by the way, here is everything.
And in typical Luthen fashion, he kills him. I it
I think, hot take, I think that was the best thing for Lonnie. You might be saying, why is that the best thing for Lonnie? Why did Lonnie deserve to die? Because this way his family doesn't face repercussions.
it's true, but
Because,
could I think Luthen? Well, maybe not Luthen, but I think Clea would have been able to get them. It would have been a lot harder for Cassian to get Clea to
because,
other people out.
because they would have had to have known where to go.
I hate that you're correct, but this is the kind of show where that it might be the best decision for him and his family.
I mean, I don't think he made that decision. I think it was,
No, 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 no. Luthen made the decision, but
but I think very much so, like Cyril and a martyr of the Empire. And in this time, zero BBY, that's not a bad thing for the family to be taken care of.
mhm, sad. But I get it, and I think Luthen recognized the gravity of the situation, and I think he might have thought neither of them were getting off of Coruscant.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of takes us to the conversation where Luthen and Clea kind of their last moment with Luthen being cognizant,
Hmm.
where they do that cool little like repeating the phrases so they don't forget. And then he says, if you notice, like they're arguing over who's going to go destroy the radio, and he says move, which then ties into one of the flashbacks.
Hmm.
Oh, that hurt. We'll get to the flashbacks and stuff, but I love the Dedra confrontation scene.
Yes.
I was
It.
like, I didn't for a second she had me. I thought she might have like when she brought her box, and then
Hmm.
when she pulled out the Star Path unit, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the whole dialogue of between the two had that they're both saying two things at the same time that are not the words that are coming out of their mouth.
Hmm.
Like like him saying like two things of questionable whatever, like those two
Or
people, not the
yeah.
objects. And then after the ball dropped or the needle dropped, her calling him out on his wig.
Yeah.
It's so good. Um,
Oh,
what did you think of what we learn is Dedra going we'll touch on that later. What did you think about Luthen's choice here?
going back to the Lonnie decision, it was a smart choice. Could have done it a little bit better, but
I don't think he expected her to try and save him. But yeah, no,
I think he should he should have expected her to save him.
yeah. I I I I feel so bad for the character because it's like he manifested the not seeing the sunrise
Hmm.
to him like his own fruition. But like you're right, there weren't many other options. She had the place surrounded, but it just seemed unfortunate that like he did sacrifice so much and he didn't unfortunately get to see the fruits of his labor even on Yavin.
But I think he knew.
He did know. And that is the whole I think he was prepared to do this whenever the time called for it, I would say.
Hmm.
And then the time came and that's what happened. And then seeing Clea realize what was happening, and then that kind of sets the rest of the episode in motion. Oh, sorry. My ringer's going off. Well, that's so unprofessional of me. Anyway, um
It's okay. I know where you work. It makes total sense.
that one was my mom.
Oh, well. No, I meant the unprofessionalness.
Ah, yes, no, that makes sense. Anyway, where were we? Clea. So, what did you think of a Clea-centric episode?
I liked it. It it was finally time for Clea. We knew Clea was playing a bigger role than initially was led on in season one, where it was kind of the assistant. And then gradually through season two, we find out no, she is a partner in this.
That's the word, and I don't think we realize. And I never really cared that much for Clea in the first, like first season of these other episodes, but you grew to appreciate it through understanding. And I guess we can kind of the overall pitch is she's going into a hospital. The Arabesh on the hospital said Lena So, which is the chancellor in the High Republic, which is really cool. It's like a
Hmm.
memorial hospital, and then the premise is she's got to get to Luthen. We don't quite know why. We can get there, but as she's getting there throughout we see like these flashbacks. Let's talk about like kind of each of the like we can just lump them all together and just discuss them here. Luthen, I believe Lear is his name actually, but
Hmm.
the like an imperial officer of some kind, would you say?
Was he actually Imperial?
I think that's vague.
I think so.
I think so. And I think he's clearly shaken by the things that he'd done, but we find that he found Clea and she, you know, I just it's just so sad. This whole
There
situation is
was
so sad.
there was a big parallel here. And when you look back at the flashbacks of Clea and Cassian, they were they parallel so well. And it shows that they're products of their environments and how Marva raised Cassian and
Hmm.
the way he turned out and how Luthen raised Clea.
I didn't really make that connection. That's very clever. I and really it and like I think you can see where like Cassian might have been more empathetic and more caring about people. That's the Marva touch. Where the
Hmm.
Luthen touch makes Clea kind of ruthless and cold. And then that,
And
go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we see that Clea does, in fact, have those characteristics of empathy
Hmm.
throughout these flashbacks, and she just grows up with Luthen.
And I don't think he necessarily wants her to throw them away, but think he wants her to realize she's not going to get to have the luxury of acting on them maybe. And
Hmm.
and that kind of takes us to that first of all, that young actress that played young Clea was fantastic. I don't have her name.
Hmm.
But wow, perfectly. Sometimes I think like when they try to do it's not an impression, but incorporate the same mannerisms, it doesn't come off as well. But this felt like a younger like they rewound
Hmm.
time. It was so good. But learning that like it's not a father-daughter relationship. It only isn't as convenient. And the actress that plays Clea, Elizabeth Dulau, I think her name is, she had said like she doesn't love Luthen. She hates him, but love kind of like grows around that hate because of their
Hmm.
situation. And it just perfectly recontextualizes everything that came before.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I loved in that final flashback on Naboo, which that was confirmed on StarWars.com, which is really exciting. It's the first time I think it's been seen in live action since the Revenge of the Sith,
Think so.
which is awesome. But I first of all love seeing that, but second, having him make her choose. And granted, it's a little crazy to ask a kid that, but I think she was old enough there and had seen enough with him to know through this fake antiquities empire that he's kind of building that this is the life that you're going to sacrifice. And then I like that he didn't actually make her blow it up, but wanted to see
Hmm.
that she would. And I just thought that you know, while Luthen is nuts, I think still offering that choice always is like he rarely forces people to do things.
Yeah, he convinces them why it's important that they should be doing it.
Even with Lonnie, when Lonnie said he wanted out, he didn't like make it. I mean, he monologued at him very strongly, but he didn't force him.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just this all recontextualized the Luthen stuff so well. And then here we also kind of get to the Imperial side on top of the cool Clea action and um, the funny pushing the
Banter on them.
grandma around.
Yeah.
Um, Seeing that Dedra went rogue and she did this on Hirt's off day. What did you think of that whole dynamic where she's been like we knew she's been trying to pursue this as a little side hustle, but like seeing the extent with which she went through this. What did you think about that?
I thought it fits the character so well that which we do come to find out when she talks with Krennic.
Is that in I'm trying to not talk about it. Is that in the second episode or is that in the first episode?
Is it?
I don't know. We
It
can
starts the second. So let's finish up the
okay.
it. This episode, this arc, more than the others, I felt was a movie that I could pause and go to the bathroom between episodes,
Very much a continuous story.
like all within the same day.
And very cool. Like it should feel more disjointed with the first episode being about Clea only, but
Hmm.
it doesn't. It's
It felt
fantastic.
seamless.
But I wanna
So
add one
let's,
more thing about Dedra real quick. We'll save it for the Krennic discussion. But are we gonna now get to where Clea is pulling off cool action moves and reaches Luthen?
yeah.
I love that they thought it was three people. I thought that was pretty funny.
Hmm.
This episode, for as dark and as grim and as emotionally powerful it was, there was a lot of levity in it, oddly,
Yeah.
with like pushing the grandma around. It was,
The comic relief of the security camera operator
yep,
when he said, "Oh, my cousin has an application in with you guys."
it's so good. It's so, so good. And
What
then
did you think of Clea showing her face?
I think at this point, I don't think she was really worried. And I think we can see that once we get to the safe house. I don't think she was worried about what happened next. I think she was just worried about taking care of Luthen,
Hmm.
which I think we can get to now. What did you think her goal was going to be getting to Luthen?
To
Did you
kill
think
him.
she was going to try? Okay, I didn't think she was going to try to save him either. But I think like in this weird, twisted relationship that they have, I think that if he woke up and she asked him what he wanted, he would say to do exactly what she did.
Yeah, and I think you posed the question, was she going there to kill him or save him? She saved him. That was
That is true.
what she did, was she saved him.
She did. And she knew that. And I think you could clearly tell in the expressions on her face and the way she kissed his forehead, like this was as challenging for her as you would expect it to be for like a father figure.
Hmm.
But she knew it was right. She knew it's what he would want. And she knew that it would save the rebellion and all the work that they did. Because one of the things I was listening to Force Center's review of this episode, and they said one of their favorite things about Andor was that there's not really resisting torture in Andor. If the Empire gets you, they're going to find the information out.
Right.
And I think this kind of connected to that and really like pushed the boundaries of what the Empire could, what someone would do to protect the information from the Empire.
Hmm.
All right. So now we can transition to episode two.
Yeah.
We can
I
kind of
think
roll two
just
and three together.
we just need to mention before we go to episode two. Episode one's with um telling Partagrass that Lonnie is dead.
Hmm.
He was found dead in the park. Dedra went rogue, and Dedra was to be arrested on site,
Yep. Which
and
she was.
that's how we begin episode two in the same holding cell or interrogation chamber where Cyril was.
Yep. And let's talk about the Krennic scene. We can get to Yavin and everything after that. But holy moly, did he really let Ben Mendelsohn let loose in this interrogation?
He was so good.
With the pointing on his head,
That
they
was
said that was improvised.
improvised. Yeah.
It had like no one would write it, and that's what makes it so good. It's so weird, and Krennic has just had these flares of oddness. But I love the idea that had the Imperials listened to Dedra, they would have this would have none of this would have happened.
Hmm.
And I think this goes to the idea of like trusting your people and not getting like too caught up in the pomp and circumstance. And this is why the rebels succeed and the Empire don't. It's not about the people, it's about the pageantry.
Hmm.
And Dedra is clearly wickedly smart. She's evil, certainly, but she's wickedly smart. And they, rather than worrying about that, they are so like focused on the Death Star that they don't
Hmm.
really have the foresight to see the Luthen. I think was the first domino to a far larger cascade that we see in the original trilogy.
Right. And Krennic even says like, "Why am I here?" And she's like, and he goes, "It's not over some antique dealer. Like, say what I'm here for." That was so good.
It was so good. And then I just really think that like seeing him, I didn't like either time that he kind of manhandled her and Cyril man. I don't like that. It makes me
Hmm.
uncomfortable, but I think it's supposed to because it's showing that the Empire does like that's the Empire,
Yeah.
and it's just so ugh.
What did you think of Dedra having everything on her computer and stuff that she wasn't supposed to know?
I think it goes to like I don't think season one Dedra or five
Yeah.
BBY Dedra would have been so sloppy. I think this shows how people kind of go down these paths and things slip and slip and slip. And I think she became so obsessed that she didn't really think about the repercussions, or even if she did, she didn't care because all she was worried about is finding access,
Right. And our boy Lonnie coming in.
taking advantage.
And it was great because you could tell she genuinely had no idea.
Yeah.
She thought Krennic was there because of the access nonsense that she caused,
Uh-huh.
having no idea that the Death Star plans have now been leaked in the sense that they are known about,
The Death Star, yeah, the
it
concept of the Death Star.
exists, and
Mm-hmm.
that it is goes further than a hypothetical, that there is a Death Star being built
Mm-hmm.
that is near operational.
Which is it's just crazy. I think that's kind of all I had to say about that. But then we get to want to talk about like, we get Clea getting to the safe house, sending a
Hmm.
message, which is received by Will's girlfriend. I can't remember her name, but
Yeah.
Poor Will, you can see him kind of limping around.
Hmm.
Then runs to Cassian, who we see I think Tony Gilroy described it as like their frat house.
Yeah.
playing cards, drinking, very entertaining. And this is one of those moments, and I'm not going to say it too much in this episode. Could save it for the season series review, but this I just wanted more of this. I think like
Yeah.
this is one of the downsides of them shortening the season, and that's okay. We got it. It's
Hmm.
great. It's excellent, and I don't think it's something that should be held against it. But it's so good that I do wish we got more of it. The
Yeah.
downtime,
Yeah. The boys.
the boys, Melshi. I like
And they
Melshi.
were I love how they were just egging on K2SO.
Yes, very clearly knowing that it was going to make him either confused or angry.
Yeah.
But long story short, we get Will coming in, and I think this, Cassian immediately says, "It's Luthen. We got to go." And I think this speaks to the strength of Cassian and, like you said, Marva's influence. Like Cassian is going to help people, and I think the lesson here is that it's all connected with the fact that he felt like he couldn't save his sister, so he's going to save as many people as he can.
Hmm.
But it like I just love that about Cassian that he's not thinking about the rigidity of the Empire, and I think sometimes that we get with Yavin, the like some of like the frustrating rebel leaders, as I'd call them,
Hmm.
they start to veer into that side of the Empire where it's like we're not listening to our people, we're not following these instincts that we should be. But I love that Cassian wasn't really doubting; he was going, and it
Yeah.
didn't matter.
Yeah. No, he was. And it just goes to show the influence that Luthen still has. That like this is he built Yavin, whether he's been there or not, and they're going to help him.
And I like that it's not necessarily Yavin that's making that choice, but it's a personal connection. And I don't think Luthen even really necessarily appreciated this aspect of Cassian.
Hmm.
But I think had he been alive, I think he would have made the connection. And I think Clea ultimately does. But that then kind of takes us to, them getting ready to go and everything, taking the U-Wing,
Hmm.
which is fun again that he just steals the U-Wing when he wants to go places.
I feel like it's his ship.
It is, but I don't think he's supposed to leave.
Yeah, he'll need to go on a test flight. He's a test pilot, as we saw in episode one.
That's true. Um, I loved, and I'm sure there's some stuff we can go back to on Coruscant itself, but I loved the when they were Cassian, K2, and Melshi get to Coruscant, and K2SO talks about the parade he was in, and the Emperor was there.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And we kind of glossed over this, but I feel like we need to bring it up. Um, hurt,
Hurt, here,
little
here,
Tarkin lookalike
Tarkin Jr.
goes to Dedra for help.
That, yes. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
he's like, I shouldn't even be down here, but you are the smartest one in the room. Like, what do I do? And again, as she's done the entire series, Dedra nails exactly what they should do. Says, you're not going to find anything with our technology. You have to go older, look for Morse code. And that's how they find
And
where.
And I want to pose a question to you about this that we can discuss. Do you think that she thought she was going to maybe be reinstated if they found them, or do you think she didn't care, she just wanted him taken care of?
That's a great question. I think there was still hope for her if the Empire would have caught them
Uh-huh.
before they got off Coruscant. It would be a lot different for her. How a lot different stretch different.
And I think everyone who might have advocated for her by the end of this episode is Gonzo.
Yeah, she
Um,
was very much like Cyril in this episode.
which is so sad.
It was just on site with somebody.
Um, I this can be a good transition to go back into I think this was a little bit before that scene actually, but where Krennic, Partagaz, and here are in that ISB chamber,
Hmm.
and they're coming up with how to best catch Clea, and here it is trying to come up with these slightly reasonable reasons, and Partagaz goes full nuclear, metaphorically, and
Yeah,
says she has a disease. It'll spread to everyone. She needs to be caught immediately, and that comes back to bite him.
yeah,
But again, the short sightedness of the Empire, they don't care. Krennic is like, that, yes. Bye.
Yeah.
Again, Krennic was minimally but absolutely effectively used in this season.
Oh, 100%.
Um, okay, so I think we're now pretty much kind of verging into second or end of second into the third episode now with the like getting into the apartment. You good with that?
Yeah.
We don't have to walk through everything too much, but I loved them getting in there to find Clea and that she didn't want to go to Yavin. I thought that was really interesting
And before we get there, she opens the door and says, "Of course it's you," to Cassian.
which was interesting because it meant she didn't know who she was calling for help.
Right. I think. Do you think she likes Cassian?
No,
No, I think she hates Cassian so much.
I do too. I think he's got a little too much free thinking in him for her
I feel she. I personally believe that she feels betrayed by Cassian.
because he chose to stay to like abandon the
Good.
Luthen side of things.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't necessarily think that she's wrong for feeling that way. Like he made a choice, but I
It's
think this
all Andor
shows
is.
it's true. But I think that this whole situation, where even though he picked Yavin, but he still cares about them, the people, is hopefully part of what opens Clea's eyes.
Hmm.
I just thought that was so interesting. And then, we get the cool action scene. I thought Melshi like running out and then running back away was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Got a cool blaster fight. There hasn't been that much action, I feel like, other than the Mothma episode. I mean, there's been action here and there, but this was a very nice big firefight.
Yeah.
And then K2 coming and smacking things around.
Oh my goodness. Oh, got another hallway scene.
Meat shield here.
Yeah. No, that was brutal.
It was, and then I
You
mean,
could see his head moving.
yeah, yeah, it was insane. This is a good show. I mean, I know, and we'll get into this. I know I was hard on the first season, but this season is so good.
Yeah.
Um,
And I loved how they requested backup.
yep, and this is going to tie back
And
to that scene we just discussed.
the basically the dispatch operator said like, no, we're looking for the sick person. You don't get backup.
Which gives our heroes just enough time to convince Clea to leave and then
Mhm.
get on out of there.
I mean, they didn't have to convince her. They kind of just drug her.
It's
She
true.
had no choice.
She was out of it. But I just think this again goes back to the whole thing with Cassian is connection and helping people and saving those in need and helping those in need.
Hmm.
And he's willing to do that for anyone, it seems, but also for the people that he cares about. And that we've talked about Cassian making connections all
Hmm.
throughout the season, throughout the whole series. And I think this is a great way to show that even someone that he's had some back and forths with, the last scene we saw these two together, she was kind of complaining about him
Hmm.
wanting to leave. And it was very interesting. Maybe not the last scene, one of the last scenes with them together.
Yeah.
But what else we got? We're kind of getting now back into
That
the Yavin portion.
brings us back to Yavin. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What did you think of the rebel leaders on Yavin?
Oh. And I
Okay,
thought,
perfect. That
and I felt this way about Rogue One. When they were being so difficult.
it was so frustrating watching them.
And I
And
think we're meant to be frustrated by them.
Sequels Bridge coming in. It's the same reason why the New Republic fails.
Exactly. Thank you. Sequels. Yes. But it's true. And it's
Because you have the
from the
same.
start, from the onset of the New Republic, before the Death
They were
Star was even
doing,
blown up, they were doing this.
and this episode changed the way I looked at Bail Organa. I
I was
hated,
disappointed.
I hated Bail Organa in this episode,
Yeah, and
and
it
I thought you got what was coming to you. Good for you.
and I don't know. I didn't go that far, but Jimmy Smits
Well,
played, and I love Benjamin Bratt. in this. I thought he did a very good job. But Jimmy Smits plays Bale with a gentleness
Hmm.
that I felt was very much absent here. And I don't know if that was an actor's choice or very intentional, but
He seemed more smug.
yes, which you might expect from Alderaan, which I think is kind of the why we love Bale so much. But I don't know. Bale isn't usually saying no. Bale's usually kind of just sitting there. And I think this is one of my critiques of this arc, which is very minimal. But we got to see Mon, you know, Mon Mothma last arc was put that we need to get this rebel leader. This is your rebellion. Luthen helped build him.
Hmm.
You're in charge. And it's like we're at the whim of these whiny senators from Rogue One that just want to complain and doubt. And I think this is precisely it. And you think about Senator Ziono from Ahsoka.
Hmm.
See, and this is what one of the reasons I love Star Wars so much. We can connect the zaniest space whale and lightsaber infused Star Wars with the most grounded Star Wars that we have. But Senator Ziono, not believing, they're not worried about Thrawn, they're not worried about anything. It's the same thing. What if? Who cares? What if? We don't need to worry about it. It's not happening.
Right. And Cassian comes up and says, "This is what happened. Like Luthen died for this." And they're all like, "Okay, we hate Luthen.
He
Luthen
was
got what was coming to
crazy.
him."
And
And they pretty much said like, "What have you done?" And he says, "Oh, I'm the one who you can ask Senator Mothma who got her out of the
Mhm.
Senate chamber."
Because of Luthen.
And Bail Organa even goes, "Point taken."
I really I thought that that was it was so good to see Cassian, who's clearly had troubles with Luthen, stick up for him. And like, this is what Luthen died for. This is what Luthen was working for, so that the rebels had a chance to beat the Empire.
And you can
And
almost
if
see Luthen's. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if they didn't learn about this and take this threat seriously, I think they would have been hard pressed to beat the Empire ever.
No, yeah, no. If the Death Star was operational, there's no chance.
At least
But
in the iteration or time frame that we know.
yeah.
Anyway, you were gonna say something?
Oh, what was I gonna say?
Something about Luthen?
I feel like this is why Luthen was the way that he was because he saw the writing on the wall that these senators are going to be mostly worthless.
So let's keep them all
Like they,
separate, send the effective
yep,
people out, and get her
yep.
done. And I think
But
this is where, like, I like that it gave some credibility to that idea,
mhm.
while at the end of the day still showing why it was flawed, like we were all season. It's such a nice balance, and I think it showed how Cassian is the balance.
And you could also see Mothma struggling to find her voice
Yes.
because the camera kept cutting to her during these moments,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they were bashing Luthen and calling Cassian's credibility into question. She knows everything's correct that he's saying,
Mm-hmm.
or at least has no reason to doubt him. And it keeps cutting to her, and it was you were like waiting for her to speak up, and she never really did.
And I that's one of my pieces of frustration is I think she had the credibility, had the experience to speak up, but maybe she knew they weren't going to listen to her either, and Cassian needed to convince them. Or maybe I feel like it's possible that there's part of her that still doubted Luthen, which is
Yeah.
why we can kind of moving on from that scene. One other scene before we go into the Vel discussion, which I thought was very nice. They used Vel again here minimally but very
Hmm.
effectively. But the Saw scene where she's like, "We know you're on Jeddah," and he's like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "No, we know you're on Jeddah."
So
Uh-uh.
good.
It, I hate Saw, but that was good.
Yeah. And
Any, go
again,
ahead.
you're gonna bear with me. Don't kill me for saying this. You kind of see Saul's point too of like, why would I work with you? Like, you guys have done nothing.
It's because of the whiny rebel leaders,
And I don't agree with him, but
but you can
you
see
can,
where he's coming from.
right? It's like, why would I put my life in your hands when you clearly disregard mine?
I mean, this directly connects to Rogue One too, where Jin is like, "We have to go." Again about this Death Star. They're like, "It doesn't exist." Then they're like, "It does exist. We got to go get the plans." And they're like, "No, no, no. We're not going to get the plans."
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same thing. It's a miracle that they. when the Death Star was coming at them, they authorized in A New Hope. But we didn't
Yeah.
see gold-clad lady and beard man. I forget that. I should know their names. I apologize. But did
Yeah.
you see the memes about the Yavin barber?
Oh my
Mon
God.
Mothma's hair. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's
Anyway,
like because you knew they had to get her to that haircut.
yes, and her comfy clothes.
Yeah.
My wife works from home, and I think it's Mon Mothma went from her I have to go to work clothes to her work from home clothes.
Hmm.
Um, we see that nice scene between Cassian and Vel. Vel, they're kind of toasting to the people who'd laid lost along the way, which is nice. And I like that they kind of like Cassian toasted Cinta and Vel toasted Marva. I thought it was just very nice.
Hmm.
I guess maybe not, they weren't toasted. Were they? I think they were drinking at that point.
I
I don't
think
know.
so. Yeah.
Irrelevant.
Just
But
reminiscing,
yeah,
I
and
guess.
then I like that Vel wasn't trying to deceive Cassie, and she was like, "Mon wants to know about this,"
Yeah.
and I think that again gets to I think Vel. While I struggled with her character at the beginning, I think she sees the value in Cassian as we've been
It's
describing.
the Luthen people, the Luthen clique is
Hmm.
starting to stick together where there's that extra level of trust.
Because I think Luthen had this knack for finding competent, effective, good people, and I don't mean good like good is effective. I mean good isn't like they care for people, they care for one another, they want to make the
Hmm.
world a better place.
Yeah. And
And
they're all resourceful enough where he tried to kill them and failed.
uh I just think seeing that just makes sense. And I guess before we get to that kind of ending montage, is there anything else we have to discuss? The call from Tivik, the call from Tivik, the call from Tivik, which
Hmm.
on Kafrene, which is where we meet Cassian in Rogue One. So we know Cassian's marching to his fate in Rogue One.
Yes. Oh,
Is it time to talk about the montage?
I feel like it's time to talk about the montage.
All
We've
right,
time to rip the band-aid off.
let's talk first and foremost about the stuff that happens on Yavin before we go elsewhere. Seeing Melshi train with the crew, including Pow, the team we see in Rogue One,
Hmm.
hurt a little. Cassian's cool outfit with like
Yeah.
tubing on the jacket. Um, the Force Healer I thought was like you could see the Force Healer knew it was going, and the way the music swelled was so nice. Um, that's about it on Yavin, right?
Yeah. Cassian slow-mo running. He was the one running against the grain while everybody else was running into it.
Which is this whole thing. Um,
Hmm.
oh, and this is technically later on, but seeing Mon like just relaxing and being amongst the troops after being so like isolated, I feel like, and not even being able to
Hmm.
make a connection with her actual family was very rewarding. A rewarding way to leave her in this series.
Yeah.
That can take us to Perrin, day drinking with Skulden's wife.
Yeah. I think it was implied that they were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. I wasn't expecting to see Perrin.
No.
Clearly, he's not
Satisfying.
doing well.
Satisfying end for Perrin.
It's true.
For us, the viewer.
Yes, not for Perrin. He looks miserable, and he got a little ear piercing.
Cute.
Um, the Partagas, holy moly.
Oh.
The Nemec, I loved hearing Nemec's manifesto, and I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be the montage, and it's no, it's Partagas listening to it and realizing, oh my God, we're not going to be able to stop this.
Yeah. Partagas. He got the short end of the stick. But honestly, for him, I think that was the best way out.
Oh yeah, no, I think much like Luthen, he knew dealing with
He
the Empire is not going to be pleasant.
he saw the writing on the wall, and that was, and they all did.
Yeah, I mean, he might have ended up right next. I have a question before we talk about. I was gonna say he might end up right next to Dedra. I want to talk about Dedra, but first I want to ask you: did we know about Cassian releasing publicly Nemec's manifesto, or is that something that we learned here that he put that out there?
I think we learned it
Okay, is it probably season one?
probably,
I don't know. I'm not the Andor expert amongst the two of
but
us.
also the ISB
They might just have
could
it.
have could have found it.
So yeah, I thought that was a nice touch, nice callback, kind of the thesis statement of the the show. And I think it's kind of funny because at the beginning, if you recall, in season one, Partagaz says "thesis, please" when someone's droning on too long, and I think it
Yeah.
kind of was like this is the show's answer for him and why he feels so hopeless. Dedra made me sad, but like she deserves it, but sad.
So just to talk about Dedra one last time, we could see her deterioration in the holding cell.
Oh, it was like she broke down to
Initially, it was,
tears.
well, no, before we even got to Narkina 2 or 7.
Oh, okay, 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 yeah.
Like when she's in the ISB holding cell, at first she's, sitting, her hair is still all slicked back. She's wearing
Badge.
her badge. She has her oh, what are they? The
The rank
clearance
insignia,
codes.
the code
No,
cylinders.
the code cylinders. And then we visit her again. Her hair's a little bit disheveled. Her badge is gone.
I don't think she had the belt on.
Yeah, no. And then
It,
we finally see her final form in the iconic orange and white.
it like you just can't help but feel bad for her because this is the Empire. This is what they do. They don't. The Empire doesn't care about the person. The Empire
Yeah.
cares about the what's happening. And I think this ultimately, as we've talked about the whole time, is why the rebels win.
Hmm.
Because the focus on Krennic staring at the Death Star was nice. Saw staring out at the Star Destroyer was nice, teeing us up for Rogue One. But the focus on the Death Star, placing so much focus on the Death Star, we've talked about it in Rebels, how it allowed the Rebels to win, how it allowed Cassian to, ultimately to get the Death Star plans. Like
Hmm.
it just it sings so well with the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Um, before we talk about the very, very last scene, I think that's all we have left, right?
Hmm.
I want to bring up the idea of if we think about what happened in this episode, the Empire lost Dedra and Partagaz and Hirt and Lonnie. Not that Lonnie was really actually working for them. They lost Thrawn and Rebels around this time. And then in Rogue One, they lose Krennic. And in New Hope, they lose Tarkin. Like, it's no wonder the Rebels were able to capitalize on this. The the elite ISB and Imperial officers are all gonzo.
Yeah.
Like I thought that for me was such a nice explanation as to why the rebels might have like I think if all those people were there firing at full strength, the rebels might have had a harder time.
Oh, absolutely. If Dedra did not overplay her Death Star hand, the rebellion would have been squashed.
Uh-huh. And I
And
just think
that could
like
even be traced back to her.
and just like connecting to the fact that the empire's the way that it chews people up and spits them out rather than building them up and listening to them and focusing on them really like it just highlights why they fail.
Hmm.
And I very very good, very very good. So the final scene, you wanna walk us through it? I don't think I can do it. Uh,
So we go back. I forget the planet. Oh my gosh.
Mina Rao.
Mina Rao, the wheat planet.
Yeah.
We see B2EMO
Oh, playing a little game.
with the, and then we finally see Bix. Great. We're like, oh, she's safe. We know where she is. She's with people who care for her. And then it's like, wait,
She's holding
what's she
something.
holding?
Who's she
And it
holding?
was her child with Cassian.
And then I saw a bunch of parallels of like the way that she was looking out and the way that Cassian's last shot on Scarif is framed.
Hmm. Oh, it's like
Uh,
I saw. It's like that's why Cassian never kissed Jin at the end of Rogue One.
yeah, so tip my hand a little. We're gonna do a Rogue One episode, but I am rewatching Rogue One, and I refuse to see Cassian and Jin as anything other than platonic friends.
They're not, very clearly not. And I think that goes back to
You're saying
Diego
Cassian and
Luna's.
Jin are not platonic friends?
No, 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 they are.
Okay, yes, yes,
But I
good.
think that goes back to Diego Luna specifically saying like you are not going to be able to watch Rogue One the same way.
Uh-huh.
And I think that puts that notion to rest.
And you
Pretty
haven't started it yet, have you?
no, but I've
Okay.
seen it.
No, you
I know
will.
it's gonna
It's
break me.
good. It's good. It's like I don't know. I feel very recontextualized. I want more Cassian in Rogue One though. Anyway, we'll get there when we get there. So
It's
yeah,
not
no,
even the main
I
characters.
love this. I love the idea that though Cassian's not able to see the sunrise, if you will, Luthen
Hmm.
terminology, he created, by proxy, a few steps
Yeah.
down the line, the galaxy that he would want Bix and his child to live in.
Hmm.
I I feel like, and we can end this arc discussion. We've hit on the themes, we've hit on everything all throughout, so we don't need a separate section, I think. But I think a lot of these, first of all, a lot of characters survived that I did not expect to survive, just based on the way the
Hmm.
show has proceeded. But also, I think these characters could show up in meaningful ways in the future. Maybe Cassian Jr. is part of the resistance.
Hmm.
Maybe Dedra is a warlord, Mando era.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
I don't think that I
I
saw
don't think.
the actress say no, but like, I mean, they're going to release the prison. Maybe she's in the New Republic
Does she?
amnesty program. What?
Are they going to release the prison?
The New Republic's not going to be running a prison like
I'm
that.
not saying. Who says the Empire lets them out?
I think the New Republic would find them.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm just saying
the
there's
Empire after the Battle of Jakku, like canonically, like the Empire is scattered, hiding in the Outer Rim, or like
it's
super
historic.
fractured into their warlord camp, Moff Gideon camps. Like they're not running a full-fledged prison system like that.
I'm not saying they'd be running the prison system.
You're saying the New Republic would continue
No,
manufacturing?
I am saying the Empire would eliminate everybody in the prison system before the New Republic got there.
Eh, agree to disagree.
Okay.
Anyway, it's fine. I would love to see Dedra as a Imperial warlord. That's all I have to say.
God,
And I
could you
think she would
imagine?
be. I think she would be. I don't think she would take the lesson. I think she'd
No,
be like, "These, there's no order." Anyway, we can leave that
she
there.
is ordered.
She's the Empress. Um, Anything else to add on this arc? Overall, kind of wrapping it up again. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought it teed up Rogue One really well. My personal favorite arc was the third one. We'll talk about that in our series review. But overall, I
Hmm.
really liked it. Anything to wrap up?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed. Is there anything we didn't discuss that you wanted to talk about? Please feel free to let us know. Did we say anything that made you think we were crazy? We'd also like to know that too. But with that, please consider giving us a like, a subscription, a review, a comment on YouTube or the podcast platform of your choice. Consider giving us a follow on Twitter or X at Blue Shadow Pod or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. And with that, we thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.